It's time for Tab Talks, your weekly conversation about matters of faith. I'm your host, Jennifer Rash.
And I'm your co-host, Debbie Campbell.
We all will go through a tough season or two at some point in our lives, and we all do better when we have a support system around us during those times. 12-year-old Sadie Keller decided she wanted to make sure as many people as possible know they are not alone during the tough times and that we all can find our way through those moments. Sadie joins us this week to share how she turned her battle with childhood cancer into an advocacy platform through the Sadie Keller Foundation. She also has co-authored a book, Better Angels, which will be available May 30. Thanks for joining us, Sadie.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, this is fun for us. We are in two different places in Alabama doing our social distancing, and you are in Texas, I believe.
Yes, I am. Dallas, Texas.
All right. Well, we know Debbie likes that. Debbie is our native Texan on staff here at Tab Media.
I'm actually from Southlake, Texas, Sadie, which is close to your home.
Yes, it is very close. That's so awesome.
All right. Well, to get us started, before we talk about your book and your platform and all, tell us the backstory. Tell us about the cancer that you endured and some of the story there of how you worked through that journey.
Yeah, so when I was 7 and in the second grade, I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is a type of cancer in your blood. And it was just such a shock for me and my whole entire family because we never thought that this would happen to anybody in our family, and not especially me. And so it was very hard for all of us to go through. And my type of chemo was going to be 2.5 years long. And what we all thought was I was going to be 10 whenever I finished chemo. And that's crazy because that was so much of my childhood. So it was really hard to think about that. But, I fought for 2.5 years and now I'm cancer free and I've started a foundation. And so it's just turned into something really awesome.
Well, tell us about the foundation. How did that come intersect about the same time you were wrapping up your treatment?
Yeah, well, actually, I started first with something called Sadie Slay, which I started whenever I was talking to my doctor, and I was thinking to myself, wondering if Santa came to the hospital on Christmas. And she said, well, yes, he does. And I still couldn't imagine being in the hospital on Christmas because I was in the hospital for a long period of time, and I couldn't imagine because Christmas is my favorite holiday. And so I wanted to do something. So I started a huge toy drive, and over the years, it's turned into something like huge. And people would ask us, are you guys a nonprofit? Can I donate to you for Sadie Slay? And we thought to ourselves, like, well, no, we're not a foundation, but we should be. So we started the Sadie Keller Foundation, and it's just grown over the years.
Well, in addition to Sadie Slay, what else does the foundation do? I think you've expanded it, haven't you?
Yes, we have. We have created over 4 campaigns. So the first one is Sadie Slay, of course. The second one is milestone gifts, which is whenever a child of cancer fighter reaches a milestone in their treatment, which is many, we get them a really amazing gift that they've wanted for a long time. And those milestones could be reaching remission, finishing treatment, going back to school, or even if they're in a really hard time and need something to cheer them up, we get them a gift that they've wanted for a very long time. Really awesome. So like Xboxes, doll houses, we've given out canoes, a bunch of amazing stuff. And that's one of my favorite things to do. It's so fun, and seeing that the kids love it so much, and teens, they all go through it. And so it's really awesome to congratulate them on that milestone that they hit. And we started Parent Packs, which is for the parents in the hospital with their child for usually 2 weeks or longer. And it's a book filled with $500 in gift cards because I was in the hospital for a very long time and it was very hard on my family. And so this gives, it's filled with Uber Eats gift cards so that the hospital food does get tiring after a while. And so they can get some food, and so it's really awesome. And the last one is lobbying and raising awareness for childhood cancer. because only 4% of funding goes to childhood cancer. Out of billions of dollars for cancer research, only 4% goes to childhood cancer research. And there's 12 different types of childhood cancer and over 100 subtypes. So whenever I heard about that, I really wanted to raise awareness about it and teach people about it and what I went through. So that's what we do with our foundation, and it's continuing to grow ever since I've started it.
Well, Sadie, at 12, it would be understandable if when you finished your treatment, because that was a long journey and that was tough, but when you finished that, you would just say, hey, I'm ready to be a kid again. I'm ready to just do my thing and, really forget the rest of the world. What inspired you to put so much energy and effort and determination into education and advocacy and all that you're doing with this foundation?
Yeah, well, I started my foundation in between my treatment, and I loved it so, so much. And I loved advocating for the kids and meeting them as well, and going to different galas and events for childhood cancer and speaking about my story, and so many other kids speaking about their story. And I know that many kids and families want to forget that they had childhood cancer, and that's so understandable because it's such a hard thing to go through, and that's going to be with you forever. And it's really hard to think about and to tell other people about. But for me, it was really important because of all that I've learned about my body too, and hearing about all the other kids who have gone through it, their stories. And I have had friends who have passed away with childhood cancer, and that made me want to fight for them and for the kids that don't have a voice. And so to me, it's really important to keep fighting. And so that's why I think I wanted to continue to fight and keep doing my foundation and everything.
Sadie, I understand too that when you first started with this cancer, you, even at that point, wanted to do something to help other young children know what you were going through, that, help them maybe not be so afraid. What are some things that you did?
Yes, well, first off, like, I saw a bunch of kids in the hospital. I would walk up and down the halls and see a bunch of kids that were bald and just like me, feeling sick and feeling horrible. And what I did was I created a YouTube video and in my mom's closet. Just one night I was bored, kind of like how we all are now, and I had a bunch of medical supplies, and I just thought, oh, well, maybe I should do a YouTube video because I loved making YouTube videos. And I took all of the medical supplies that I had, took them into my mom's closet, and made a video. And that video was 17 minutes long. And once I finished, I showed it to my parents and said, can you put it on YouTube? And then they put it on YouTube, and so many people found it, and it really helped some people. Even if they didn't have childhood cancer, they would show their kids and have them learn about it. And it was from a kid's perspective as well. And even though I was only 8, it really taught people about it. And so that's pretty much the first thing that I did. And that was the beginning of my advocacy pretty much. So it's crazy how it all kind of started from that.
Do you remember some of what you said in that video?
Yeah, I remember that I spoke about my port, which is where I got my chemo through, and talked about my white blood cells and my red blood cells and all these things that 8-year-olds shouldn't know. And so I think that's why people took it as like a big surprise on how me being so young was so aware of my body at that time. And it's crazy to think that there was so many other kids just like that, and I was speaking from what I felt. And I remember speaking about how I had a PICC line and having to flush that because my port was infected, and just talking about everything that I went through and just venting about everything that was trapped in my head.
So tell us some of the feedback you got from that video. I know you had to get a lot of great responses.
Yes, a lot. So many people just saying how it taught adults about childhood cancer. And people would just message us saying like, this is incredible. And some like, I think our news channel reached out and said like, we want to do a story on Sadie, because that video was just getting so much views and publicity that people were just seeing it. And so that's kind of how it all started and how people started to see me and how I started doing all my other stuff.
Sadie, do you ever go back and visit the hospitals there where you did a lot of your treatment?
Yes, I do. And what the hard thing is about childhood cancer is that for me, I will never be able to forget that I had childhood cancer. For the rest of my life, I'll have to go at least once a year to check my blood to make sure that my cancer isn't coming back. And it's hard to rethink of all the memories that I went through, and that we always say, like, this is the hospital room that I was diagnosed in, or that we first met my oncologist. And so I still have those memories of everything, but I still go, and now I'm going every 6 months, which is crazy to think now because I was going every week on chemo. So it's weird not having to go now all the time, which like sounds crazy to think that like soon I'll be going once a year.
You know, when you're in those treatments and you're going through that time, you adapt to being there all the time and doing the next thing, and your family just kind of does what it has to do. Everyone just jumps in and deals with it. Tell us a little bit about the new family that you developed through the medical personnel, the different people that you would meet, the friends and family there, different people in the hospital settings or where you stayed. What are some of those relationships like, and does that lead into your Better Angels stories?
Yes, the relationship that you build with the doctors and nurses is absolutely incredible. They become your best friends because you aren't allowed to see your actual friends that are your age. And so they're the ones that are always there for you, the ones that bring you crafts to play with, and they are the ones that play with you, even though they're the ones who are giving you this awful chemo that makes you feel horrible. They're the ones that are also saving your lives. And that's kind of why I wanted to create my book, Better Angels, too, to share my story and share the relationship with the doctors and nurses that I had.
And those are lifelong relationships, I'm guessing, right?
Yes, now still every time I go into the hospital, I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you in forever, because they're still my best friends. So it's really, really awesome.
I know we're referring to your book that's about to come out, Better Angels. What's maybe one or two of the highlights in the book that you would like to share?
Yeah, well, the book shares about my whole entire story and so many amazing memories that I have. And what's so amazing about the book is now I will always remember my story and always have that. Even though it was really hard, I'll always have those memories of me and my friends. And in the book, it shows my relationship with a congressman who has worked really hard for, worked with legislation and everything to put an end to childhood cancer. And we've become really good friends, and he's actually the co-author of my book, and he's the one who made this all happen. And so it's really amazing, and all that we worked together on, and all my friends who have had childhood cancer that I'm really close with, sharing their stories as well. And it shares just so much information about childhood cancer that you would ever want to know, and it's really awesome.
Tell me what co-author really means in this setting.
Yeah, well, he has written the foreword and afterword of my book, and there's so many stories of us on how we've worked together on different acts and bills as well. Just recently, the STAR Act was passed, and I was actually by the president's side as it was signed into law. And so it's just really, really amazing, and we've worked so much together.
Well, tell us what the STAR Act is.
Yeah, the STAR Act stands for Survivorship, Treatment, Access, and Research. And survivorship was a really big part of that bill because many kids with cancer don't survive. And so that bill was really important to be passed. And it was also the most comprehensive bill ever passed into law for childhood cancer. So that's why it was really important. And I lobbied on Capitol Hill for that law so that it could help save more kids' lives.
Well, you have to tell us what it was like to be on Capitol Hill and to be in all of that exciting drama
Yes.
that's going on.
Yes. talking to the congressman and congresswoman is really amazing because like sharing about what I went through and is sharing about childhood cancer and letting them know what all of us go through, you know, and teaching them about it and them now knowing about it more is really awesome. And it's crazy to think that I'm like teaching congressmen and congresswomen about it, but that's what I want to do, is just teach more people about it and give people hope. And that's all pretty much what my book is about, is hope and knowing that anything you're going through, that you can get through no matter what it is, even though it's really hard.
Well, as you look toward the future, Sadie, where do you see yourself in, say, 5 or 6 years, 7 down the road from now?
Yeah. Honestly, like, you never know what the future holds, but I think it's like really exciting to not know what the future holds. But I think that I'll continue doing everything I'm doing because I love it so, so much, and continuing to advocate. And I hope that in the future, more people know about childhood cancer, and that we have a higher survival rate here in America and many other countries as well with childhood cancer. And I hope that my foundation grows so that I can help reach more kids and help them and keep them happy, even if it's for 5 minutes or so. And that's really what I want to do. And I hope that, and I think that the future will just be awesome.
Well, I know your interest isn't just here in the United States. Didn't you recently come back from a trip over in, was it in Africa or where? Could you tell us something about
Yes, it was in Africa, which is so, so exciting. Me and Congressman McCall went and we visited the kids with childhood cancer. And here in America, 8 out of 10 kids survive with childhood cancer, which it's growing every centuries or every few years. But in Africa, 9 out of 10 kids die with childhood cancer. And so Texas Children's is there with the Global Hope Act, helping, teaching the doctors and nurses how to treat childhood cancer and how to diagnose it. And we visited the kids in the hospital and seeing how different it was, you know, and it was just so amazing seeing the kids. And we're going through the same thing, even though I was treated in America and they're treated in Africa. We're getting the same chemos, and Texas Children's is bringing those chemos there to save more kids' lives. And it was really, really incredible and so amazing. And I'll never, ever forget that trip. And it was really hard to leave the kids, but it was just so, so amazing.
I'm sure you were an inspiration to them.
Yeah, they were an inspiration to me. Like, just seeing them and just seeing, yeah, it was just amazing.
Sounds like you're going global for sure with the foundation efforts. One thing I've noticed, a theme through all of your efforts, there are always toys, lots of toys. Tell us a little bit about those moments. What is it about the toys and having those special gifts for children? What piece of the puzzle is that? Why do you focus on that?
Yeah, well, to me, like, toys are amazing. That's what kept in, like, kids, it's hard to keep them occupied sometimes, and especially if they're in pain. And for me, crafts and toys would keep my mind off of everything. And even if it was just, like, my goal is to make them smile. And even if they just smile once, it's amazing, because it's so hard to go through all that. And it's so hard to keep them happy because of all the chemo. And I know it from my experience. And so the toys bring them happiness and hope. And really, it's made a difference, I feel, for them. And to hear what the parents say and the teenagers, it's not only like little kids, you know, it's teenagers getting whatever they want, you know, and it makes them just happy and feel good and give them hope, which is what I want to do.
I've noticed that some of the children's hospitals, well, probably all of them actually, have trinkets and little gifts that the nurses and doctors will give out, stickers sometimes, different things for when maybe they've had a shot, a child gets a shot, then they get to choose from the toy chest or something like that. Do you encourage people to think about their local children's hospitals for toy donations? Just little gifts that they can add to those toy chests?
Yes, I think so, absolutely. Because whenever I was in the hospital, my nurses would bring me little gifts, like little toys to play with. And that meant so much to me, even if it was just a little canvas to paint. It was so awesome. It just like kept my mind off of everything and it was fun. And so I think that absolutely people should do that because um sometimes they run low on that stuff and it's really important, honestly. Even if it's just something little, it means so much.
Sadie, I know probably every child that is pronounced with cancer probably says initially, why me? What words of hope would you give to a child when they're going through that stage of why me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, I know that because that's what I went through. Why is this happening to me? And it was really hard to think about it, but for me, I tried to keep my faith as strong as I could. And I believe that God can turn such hard things into amazing things. And I feel like my story is kind of proof of that, on how I turned my hard situation into something huge. And I feel like that's what anybody can do. And if that you're going through something hard, try and stay as positive as possible, even if it's so hard. And I know it's so hard. Try and keep your faith because God is always there and He will turn your hard time into something amazing.
How was the faith of your family impacted as they watched you go through this?
I feel like it's gotten so much stronger just knowing that um, I feel that God has just turned this hard time into something amazing. And I believe that He will continue opening doors for me to keep telling my story. And I feel like He can do that with anybody. And yeah, my faith in my family has just grown so much. And I think it can for so many other people too.
You've gotten to speak on so many platforms. We've mentioned some of them already. Um, Name some other areas. I know you've been on some national news shows and different things. Tell us a little bit of just kind of popcorn style, different things you've gotten to share and any of the special moments you remember out of those.
I mean, there's so many to choose from. But I think just like speaking about everything and being on, it's just I've had so many amazing opportunities to share about me and my foundation, and this is one of them right now.
Right.
Just like amazing opportunities, and I'm so happy to be speaking about what I've went through right now today. And just I have so many amazing memories from different television shows and everything, just like being on them. It's just so amazing.
Do you ever get to share in church settings?
Yes, I have. I've spoken at my church before, and that's how we found our church, and that's how we found our community. Was they reached out to me and asked if I could speak at their church service, and I said absolutely. And now that they are our church, and I've spoken at a bunch of other churches, and that's one of my favorite places to speak. I think is just because faith has really made um, faith was really important in my story, and just everything that I've been through.
Tell us a little bit about your church.
Yeah, our church is Covenant Church in Carrollton, and all of the Pastor Stephen is so amazing, and we've gone there ever since I've spoken there because we knew that it was where we were meant to be. And their community there is so amazing, and I just like I can't imagine me and my family anywhere else. It's just like perfect, and how I feel like God brought us there for a reason, and how they reached out to us for a reason, and now we just go there every Sunday and listen to them every Sunday.
Well, I can't imagine any church not wanting you on their platform to share. And you're definitely very encouraging and full of hope and inspiration. And Debbie and I are going to look forward to watching what God does through you and all the different platforms you're going to have in front of you throughout the rest of your life. I know you're going to make a difference for childhood cancer awareness and all of the different parts and pieces of that, but also for your faith. And that's exciting. So thank you for sharing your light and being part of all that you're doing. Wow.
Well, thank you guys again just for everything.
All right.
Now,
Sorry.
I just want to know, that she could tell us, Sadie, when is that book coming out?
Hey,
your
you
new
read my
book?
mind. That's what I was going to ask you.
Well, my book is releasing May 30th, and it is available for pre-order on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And you can go to my website, Sadie Keller Foundation website, and www.betterangelsbook.com to check more out about it.
All right. So that's betterangelsbook.com or SadieKellerFoundation.com?
Yes. .org.
.org. Sorry, I got those wrong. Okay, so betterangelsbook.com and SadieKellerFoundation.org to find more information. So Debbie, we're going to have to get that book. So. All right, Sadie. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you guys so much.
And thank you all for joining us. We'll be back next week.